guys! Welcome to Steven's Song Time.
A little while ago, I was talking about what in my opinion are the 10 best songs from the amazing world of Gumball, and surprisingly enough, quite a few of you actually agreed with my choices for that list, and even more of you wanted me to cover a show that undoubtedly has some of the best songs in children's television at the moment, which is Steven Universe. All arguments about its plot, art style, character development and everything aside, I think we can all collectively agree that the songs in the show are not only great in the context of the episode, but also serve as either soothing lullabies or in some cases even empowering rap jams that now have well over 19 million views. That's pretty impressive. Today we are taking a look at 10 examples of the best songs in Steven Universe, but because I already know that this isn't going to cut it, feel free to let me know which songs you would have put on the list instead. Before we begin this video though, I would like to tell you about the awesome app that is Amino. Now you might have already heard of it, but in case you haven't, Amino is essentially what I would have always loved to have as a kid growing up in the internet age. One go-to place for every community and interest you can think of. From gardening to drawing, from specific shows to movies you like. If you want to talk about something, I bet there's an Amino for it. This app is especially great if you love cartoons, because there are so many communities for every single show, including newer ones like Rick and Morty or older ones like the Looney Tunes. I've been using this app to discuss cartoons and look at the awesome fan art people have made on here for years, but today I want to specifically tell you about the Steven Universe Amino, because I know how hard it is to surpass all the hiatuses that plague the show, and Amino is the perfect way to bridge the gap between episodes in the form of discussing what'll happen next, chat with others about your favorite characters, or partake in quizzes, one of which I also participated in, and I don't mean to brag, but I did make it into the top 10. See if you can beat my score by clicking the link in the description, which will take you straight to the free Steven Universe Amino app. I also have Awestruck Vox from the roundtable with me today, because if there's anyone who knows his Steven Universe, it's him. Anyway, let's go.
I even wrote us a song. If you're evil and you're on the rise, you can count on the four of us taking you down.
Number 10 already is a bit of an odd choice. It goes to We Are the Crystal Gems, also known as the title theme to the show. This technically is a little bit of cheating, since we haven't actually heard the full version of it, aside from a San Diego Comic Con short and the pilot, cause it's not a song heard on the show, but rather the theme song, but hey, screw it. It's an awesome one at that. The original version of the song, which was played up until the episode Sword to the Sword, while only featuring a little bit of clapping, violence and chiptune at first, already was a great introduction to the show whenever we have heard it back in those episodes. But man, when they made that revamped version, oh boy! A beautiful thing about the theme song is that according to the show's lore, it was actually Steven who initially thought it up when he was just a little child and fiddling around with his ukulele, which makes that little thrown in "and Steven" all the cuter. And the visuals in general have always supported the theme to the show super well, with all the gems summoning their respective weapons in tune with the song, and with Steven only barely being able to catch up with the crystal gems in the season 1 version of it, further emphasizing how much he and the other gems have grown together. But of course that doesn't come close to covering everything happening in the intro. Even if we were to only go by the quality of the song, it still holds up, and as a reoccurring musical motive in the show, it is one of its most iconic aspects, which I do not mind at all.
I can't help it if I make a scene, stepping out of my hot pink limousine.
This, in my opinion, pretty obvious knock at the song Party in the USA by American singer and actress Miley Cyrus was first heard in the episode Sadie's Song, and to my knowledge has only appeared once afterwards, which I'm not gonna lie is more than a shame, because rarely does such a rocky / poppy radio hit song fit in so well with the vibe of Steven Universe than is the case here. When Steven catches Sadie listening to this radio hit in the closet as she is preparing for work, Steven encourages her to attend Beach City's local song contest. She first declines and then, after being convinced, remains a bit hesitant about it, yet goes through the whole training together with Steven, which, as Sadie still ends up having too big of a stage fright, takes her place, resulting in a performance that even outdoes that of season 1's Steven and the Stevens. While I definitely like Steven's and Sadie's renditions of the song, the real star of the show here is the original, sung by the voice actress of Adventure Time's Marceline, Olivia Olsen, also known as Vanessa Doofenshmirtz on Phineas and Ferb. She has such a rebellious punk rock attitude in her voice that was already perfect for Marceline in particular, and I'm very glad her talent didn't go to waste here, as this is one of the songs in the show I could imagine best being played on real life radio as well. The lyrics to the song definitely support it in that sense, as while they are smartly written and have a great contrast with Sadie's normally so reserved nature, still have that cocky attitude some celebrities have engraved in their lyrics, and I definitely enjoyed in that sense as well. Peace and Love on Planet Earth is a much more laid-back song than the other two were. It doesn't have a whole lot in there in terms of instrumentation, besides some simple ukulele chords and arguably the most adorable singing pairing in the show, which is Steven and for the first time our favorite Green Goblin herself, Peridot. It actually also marks some of the first steps Peridot takes to get accustomed to her new life on Earth together with the Crystal Gems, and honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better song to accompany it. This one is just made to learn for yourself and either sing at the campfire with a couple of friends or just have it on in the background to remind yourself that not everything in the world has to be terrible.
You do it for him, and you would do it again. You do it for her, that is to say, you'll do it for him.
Do It For Her, like all of Pearl's songs, lyrically is super well done. The way she is always interrupting herself while trying to sing about how she would do all of this for rose quartz instead of focusing on training Connie is a great way to portray her inner emotional conflict, which is only emphasized through using her gem to show Connie how she herself was fighting for Rose during the war. It also helps that the song shifts into a minor key when that flashback occurs, putting even further emphasis on the importance of the training in contrast to this otherwise upbeat song. Connie's development throughout the scene is also portrayed very efficiently, as she both gets rid of her glasses and has bandages on her body, which makes her seem the keenest on winning she has ever looked. It's a very well constructed song, not necessarily due to a strong melody, which I wouldn't really say it has, but rather due to the contrast between the positive mental image it puts in your head of what it will be like after the fight and the relentlessness of the fight itself, and I can definitely appreciate it for that, even if you isolate it from the visuals, which I personally think only further emphasize its message. I freaking love the visuals to this song, starting with the beginning already, with this quick cut from Greg playing the guitar to Steven and then him on stage performing for what you are made to assume is a large crowd due to all the lightning and everything, and him giving his all in a way we have never seen before from this usually so laid back character. It gives this song a super chilling yet beautiful atmosphere. I especially appreciate all the visual details, like Greg flying around on the discs here, him catching the Stardust in a more than similar fashion to the intro of Space Dandy, and how his stage name appears behind him on the beat, not to mention his nothing short of gorgeous mane, only for no one to actually have been in the audience all along except for Rose, which ends up progressing the plot of the episode. Listen, I'm a sucker for well constructed visually pleasing stuff like this, okay? And the song itself is also pretty great. It's an awesome rock song which showcases that even the male cast on the show has a vocal talent that will leave you in awe. It's most certainly my favorite song from Greg. Alright, listen, this might as well have been number one, but let's be real here, it would be kind of unfair towards the other songs within the show's universe if I were to include one of its most iconic aspects that literally happens in almost every episode, wouldn't it? I'm not saying it isn't a great song by itself, which is the case for all the songs on this list, but considering this one is yet to be utilized within the show itself and to get some visuals besides the end credits, I felt like it would be more fitting to wait until the end of the show to see how they actually end up integrating it, because as we've seen with each new iteration of Love Like You, it seems to be an ongoing narrative of either Rose interacting with Greg, Pearl interacting with Rose, or something entirely different that gets described within the lyrics of this originally so peaceful piano lullaby that over the course of the show has developed into this 2.5 minute long emotional roller coaster. And yes, I know Rebecca Sugar said that she didn't have a particular character in mind, but after everything that has been happening recently, I don't really trust trust these creators anymore. It actually marks the only song to be sung and therefore also appearance of Rebecca Sugar in the show itself, and only goes to demonstrate that it wouldn't hurt it at all to let her sing some songs too, because I think she does a great job at it here. It's a beautiful little piece that definitely has every right to be synonymous with the show.
This is Garnet, back together.
This is probably the song most casual viewers of the show are aware of too, as like I stated before, this one already has almost 20 million views on YouTube, which has to be the most success a Cartoon Network song has ever had on the platform, but don't quote me on that. It makes a lot of sense though. Of all the songs we have heard on the show so far, this one has the most radio quality to it. Having Estelle as the lead singer here was definitely of help, but it's also just another well coordinated scene here, with all the blows going her way being in sync with the rhythm of the song and some more than slick dance moves by Garnet. When they performed this one at Comic-Con a couple years back, Estelle actually forgot some of the lyrics, so the crowd had to fill in for her, and it actually turned into a pretty cool moment, showcasing just how memorable this melody is. But lest we forget the lyrics, because I really love lines like, "But I am more than the two of them, everything they care about is what I am their fury, I am their patience, I am a conversation." And hey, if you haven't yet listened to Estelle's other songs, I definitely suggest you do that, because most of them are just as, if not even better than this one. I'd recommend American Boy and Here Comes the Thought for starters, the latter of which may or may not have even almost made it onto the list too, so that one's definitely an honorable mention.
That Distant Shore, or Maybe I'm Not Alone as it's also known sometimes, is the newest song on this list, so seeing it this high up here certainly says a lot about its quality. It not only marks the first time we hear Lapis Lazuli sing, but gives us a ton of insight on her inner conflict and her struggle with trying to make the best of her life on Earth, and yet, due to her emotional insecurity, always feeling alone and never quite accepted. Lapis's voice actress Jennifer Paz is probably best known for being part of Les Miserables' 10th anniversary concert tour, so due to her experience on Broadway, hearing Lapis finally have a song of her own was something fans have been very excited for. Unsurprisingly, her performance turned out to be beautiful and packed with emotion to the brim. Not to mention that the song's sudden shift in tone when Lapis is singing about how the metaphorical colors around her are fading are greatly accompanied by the visuals in the episode also shifting tone. The instrumentals in this one are kept rather minimalistic and rather along some glitched out sound effects, both try to emulate how the world around Lapis is twisted and vacant. She has yet to wrap her head around what she really wants. In her mind, every character in the show doesn't even seem to acknowledge her existence. She sees herself as a mere shadow in their lives and cannot understand how the other gems, specifically Peridot, could be so bold. She is reevaluating whether her choice of being by herself beats being in danger, but with the people she cares about. Even though the song shifts back in tone again after a while, the lyrics and visuals don't. They seem to contradict the way she actually feels. As in this moment, she does not think that she may not actually be alone, which makes for a thrilling moment in an already jam-packed episode leading up to the events of A Single Pale Rose. That tells us a lot about one of the show's most beloved characters.
It's Over, Isn't It is one of the most relatable songs in the show. That feeling of being rejected by the one you love, to know that the one person you dedicate your entire life to and have feelings for that shatter everything you have known before simply does not feel about you the same way you do. Sung by Pearl's incredibly talented voice actress Dee Dee Magno-Hall, this first solo song by Pearl touched the heartstrings of countless of the show's fans as she struggles with facing the fact that Rose not only chose Greg over her, but also isn't there for her anymore. Magno-Hall's performance in this is nothing short of incredible. The way she hits notes both high and low, long and short, with a melody that is far from being easy to present well, yet packs all the emotion Pearl is experiencing along with her into her performance, and along with the beautifully coordinated music video of her dancing on the balcony's edge with the single rose bloom in her hand, makes for an awe-inducing moment that shaped the rest of the episode Mr. Greg in unforeseen ways. My favorite moment in this one is when Pearl finally realizes that Rose is actually gone, finally launching the rose she held in her hand for the duration of the song into the air and starts crying, symbolizing that while she is trying to come to terms with the situation, the damage this has done to her still sits deep and comes out only in bursts like these. The song therefore is not only a great Broadway-style musical number that slowly shapes its way into one of the most influential ballads in the show, but also gives us so much insight into both Pearl's character and the way she perceives her relationship with Greg, and it more than deserves its spot at number 2. Now for some brief honorable mentions.
What can I do for you?
Lapis lazuli.
All I wanna do is help you turn into a giant woman.
Tell me, what's the use of feeling blue?
Why don't you let yourself just be wherever you are?
Stephen, why do you have to look up to her, aside from in a literal sense?
Okay, I will admit that this one is definitely more of a personal pick and that it is far from being the most influential song or beautifully shot sequence in the series, but judging from a purely musical standpoint, man, this one's a banger. Being the first song starring Pearl, we did not yet fully know what to expect, but as you've come to learn from Do It For Her and It's Over, Isn't It, her performance here was obviously awesome, and Zach Callison as Steven also does a pretty good job. As Pearl starts reminiscing about how Steven should stop looking up to Amethyst and Garnet's fusion Sugilite so much and focus more on his real training, Steven chimes in and uses the melody of the song to motivate his trainees. This makes for a great sort of question-answer play between the two, and on Pearl's end is a great example of how her jealousy often gets the best of her, even though she does not dare to admit that within the song. Seeing as though this is one of the show's first songs and the story aspect still wasn't as developed as it is now, hearing a semi-serious song like this one was a real deal breaker to me when I first heard it. I was thinking to myself, wow, this is actually the same show I've started to get a little bit bored with as of late. Oh, this is amazing, let me put this on my crappy iPod Touch or whatever device I was using back then. As I mentioned earlier, Zach Callison also does a very convincing job as a coach here, especially in the last verse where the song fades out, ending it on a super empowering note. I always felt that this song had such a great melody and yet this iconic flair to it that makes it only work in the context of Steven Universe and yet is also universal and can easily be put on your workout playlist or karaoke mix, as it very much invites you to sing along and figure out for yourself what makes you strong in the real way. But what do you think? What is your favorite Steven Universe song? Let me know in the comments, and again a huge thank you to Awestruck Vox from the Roundtable for helping me out with this video. I've had a blast working on it and I hope you had a good time watching it. Now if you'll excuse me, I'll listen to that distant shore for the rest of the day. That's all for now guys, take care.